welcome to Nite Line. I'm your host, Dante Thompson, and tonight we've got a special treat for you. Those in the studio have a very special treat, but we'll be talking about that in a second. But we've got a great program tonight, and the most important thing is, though, that we got prayer partners standing by to take your call. So get your prayer requests in. We want to pray with you and believe that your needs are going to be met and that your life's going to be changed. And by all means, if you don't know Christ, make that call right now and make that commitment to Him tonight. 244-1616. You can email us anytime, dubbroadcasting.com. Just go on there and there's an email submission request form for your prayer request form. So you can do that a couple of ways, So we want to hear from you. That's the main thing. But I'll tell you, the year is still just getting ramped up. We're just now into February. And boy, do we have a good year lined up for you for Nite Line. A lot of good things coming down. Of course, we didn't do telethon this year, if you might notice, and that might be a continuing trend. But don't let that deter you from making a donation if you feel led to. But we had tent revival in its place back in January, at the very beginning of the year. And in May, we got plans for a live tent revival. So you want to mark that on your calendar to be a part of that, either in the studio audience or just remember to watch. It's going to be good. But a lot of good things coming down. I'll be going to the Philippines in just a couple of weeks on a mission trip with one of our employees here. His father-in-law has a Bible school, and he's Filipino, and has planted about 28 churches, I believe it is. So I'm going to be going and speaking to some of those churches. I'm pretty excited about that. And of course, we'll be going back to Bulgaria in the summer. And just a lot of things happening in 2018, and I wanted to invite you to be a part of it. But tonight, we got a different show, kind of an interesting show. In fact, tonight is going to be a first for me, because I'll be cooking on this program. That's right, I'll be cooking on this program. But Mary Beth Oxendine is my guest tonight. Mary Beth, thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to this night, that's for sure. And then we have music by the Blankenships. And the Blankenships, this is their first time being here too, all the way from around Charleston, West Virginia. So a little bit further than Charleston, South Carolina, but not too bad. So the Blankenships are going to be doing our music tonight. They're going to be wonderful. You don't want to miss a second of it. But our scripture tonight comes from, and I like it, they always tie in the scriptures with what we're talking about. And tonight we're going to be talking about brownies, evidently. Right. That says, whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. And that's 1 Corinthians 10:31. And Mary Beth, that's what your ministry is about now. For the longest time, you're just cooking for your family, but you've turned your passion for not only food, but healthy food into a ministry that's reaching thousands today. So you don't want to miss a second tonight. Of course, Mary Beth, you have your program Cooking with Miss O here on Saturday mornings. And on several other television stations too, around the Southeast and places like that. So a lot going on that we're going to get into tonight. So I'm looking forward to it. But don't go anywhere. You're going to see me bake an apple pie.
Yeah, and you did great.
And it turns out good. We pre-taped the baking segment, and you'll get to see me in an apron. That's the first time I ever worn an apron. And remember, I'm glad I did, because I got flour all over me. So stay tuned. It's going to be a fun night. But here in just a second, we got the Blankenships. But I'll remind you, again, call the prayer partners, 244-1616. They're here for a reason, and that reason is you. So go to the phones. As the Blankenships sing, His Life for Mine.
His heart was broken, mine was mended. He became sin, now I'm clean. The cross he carried bore my burden. The nails that held him set me free. His life for mine, His life for mine. How could it ever be that He would die? God's Son would die to save a wretch like me. What love divine, He gave His life for mine. His scars of suffering brought me healing. He spilled His blood to fill my soul. And His crown of thorns made me royal.
Aren't you glad for that tonight? Hallelujah.
His sorrow gave me joy untold. His life for mine, His life for mine. How could it ever be that He would die? God's Son would die just to save a wretch like me. What love divine, He gave His life for mine. He was despised and rejected.
Hallelujah.
From His scars
Sing it now.
and oppressed, I am loved and accepted, and now I His life for mine, His life for mine. How could it ever be that God's Son would die just to save a wretch like me? What love divine, He gave His life for
All right, that is wonderful. The Blankenships from West Virginia. I'm glad you guys made it down here tonight. That was great. Of course, if you're enjoying that, stick around because they're going to be around the rest of the program tonight. So I'm excited about that. Doing a great job, y'all. Wonderful job. But we're going to kick off the program and with Mary Beth Oxendine. Some of y'all know her as Miss O, and she has the program Cooking with Miss O. Thank you so much for being here, Mary Beth. I'm
thanks for
excited.
letting me come.
I'm excited.
Thanks for baking with me. That was fun.
I can't wait for people to see that because that was fun. That was a lot of fun. But you've been on with us now for
It's 6
4,
years.
5, 6 years now.
I think that's what somebody just told me. I thought it was
Wow.
5, but this is
I know
6
it's been a while,
this year.
so that's exciting.
Isn't that something?
And of course, you were on a time or two with my mother, but you really hadn't. I mean, you're mostly cooking, and you don't really have. I mean, you have guests on, and you're talking about the recipes and this and how it's healthy for you. But a lot of people might not know much about Mary Beth. Tell us about yourself. Where you were raised, your husband, because I know about your husband and your children. I want to know everything there is to know about Mary
Well,
Beth.
I was born in Iowa.
Wow.
And my family was from Highland Park, Illinois. And in the 20s and 30s and 40s, it was the richest community in the United States.
Wow.
And my granddad was picked by the President of the United States, I think it was Cleveland, and Kennedy's father, President Kennedy's father, to design the lighting in the Merchandise Mart in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
He was the engineer. And so my dad had a house where presidents came to eat.
Wow.
And, but I don't know, I hate to say this, but I don't know that anybody knew the Lord.
Wow.
And so then he got saved from a big minister in Chicago. He met him. He cut 2 albums in the 40s because he played in the high-end place. He had a band.
Neat.
And but then his brother, who was a Marine, and he was only 20, and my dad was like, I guess, 17 or 18. He was in the Battle of Midway, and I didn't know much about the Battle of Midway, but it was an island. I just learned from an older soldier. He just told me about it. At the Battle of Midway, it changed the tide and of the whole war, and they bombed his ship, and he died.
Oh, my goodness.
I know, and I just found out that those soldiers in the Battle of Midway had no left ammunition, and they were basically massacred.
My
Our
goodness.
soldiers, and because people couldn't get into that island, they were surrounded and stuff, and they didn't have food either.
Wow.
And I didn't know that could happen. I mean, we have planes and stuff. Why?
Wow.
So I've wondered about that. I just found that out at Christmas, and it really bothered me. So, but that kind of, then his dad heard about when he found out he had died. Within less than 2 years, he died
Oh, my goodness.
from the, you know.
Your father had experienced a lot of loss at an early age.
He did. And now that I'm older, I wonder if that's what triggered all this with him. He came down here to South Carolina. He actually came to Charleston, West Virginia first.
Oh, wow.
And with another ministry that the person that had led him to the Lord in Chicago. And my mom also accepted the Lord. And so, not in Chicago, but in Iowa, when right before me, right after my big sister. And it was a soldier that had come back to be to be a pastor in Iowa, and he was a Swede. His mom had come from Sweden, and he grew up in Iowa. And his mom told him when he went in the Second World War to put she gave him a little Bible and had it say, keep it on your heart all the time. And his platoon was blown up, and he had shrapnel everywhere. But none of that shrapnel killed him, but the one that went through the Bible would have killed him.
Wow.
And it was huge. And of course he had problems, and he baptized me, and then as a baby, because
Wow.
he was Lutheran pastor,
Oh.
and he came down to visit us, visit my mom and my grandmother and all of us, and he got to meet my kids.
Wow.
And it was wonderful, and he told my son the story about the Second World War and what had happened and all. And of course my son just thought that was,
Yeah.
you know, because he
Yeah.
liked G.I. Joe and stuff. So, but anyway,
So you were raised in a Christian home then?
I was, but I'm not sure my dad was really saved because of what he did in later years.
Yeah.
But the wonderful thing is, I want people to know that I did get mad at God at one time, and Jesus really is real, and I can testify that now. And but
Well, he's such a forgivable God. I mean,
Isn't he,
everybody, we get mad or upset or, blame God or Jesus, for all these things. And
we do.
he still loves us and he
Yes,
still forgives
yes.
us. I mean, we can hit rock bottom and he's going to come right down there with us and drag us out of that.
And he did for me.
Yeah.
He really did. My dad was in a big ministry here in Greenville, and Christmas morning when I was 12, I was at Greenville Junior High School, and my older sister was in 10th grade at Greenville Senior High School, and my little sister was still in elementary school. And he came home. We did our presents, Christmas morning and everything. And then he said he had to go. And we got up to, run and kiss him goodbye. And he said, no, just sit there so I can remember you. And said that didn't come back till a lot later.
Yeah.
When and I didn't realize, and my mom didn't really know either. But he
He just left.
he
like
left. And
When
I
you were
didn't know
12.
when I was 12. So when we went back to school that Monday before school, because he would go up to the Midwest and get support for this ministry, and somebody who is in that ministry now told me that my dad did something right, because the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren of those people are still supporting this ministry, and that's how it's still
Wow.
going.
Wow.
And but I never have really talked about it much, you know, but since Tom died, I've had movie offers.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
haven't taken them because I don't want to, and I talked to one of the people, and I said, I don't want to do this because I don't want people to think that, you know, Christians and pastors and all, you know, are not good.
Yeah.
You know, I was afraid I would hurt Christ's reputation.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, it's not Jesus, it's us. I mean, we're
It
human.
is. You're
We're
right.
infallible. We're going to mess up. We're going to mess
Yeah.
up over and over and over. I mean, I've messed up. I know people that you would not believe would ever mess up. Just mess
Well,
up.
we're all
but
sinners.
we're all human.
And
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
you know,
It's
he's
not
the only
Christ.
perfect one. It's
Yeah.
not us. You know,
Exactly.
we're not perfect. And I used to think it was perfect, but anyway, what happened was that Monday when we went back to school, my teacher and when I came in the door at Greenville Junior High School, and the kids were all there, you know, sitting there, and I mean, there was kids coming in behind me too, and she had us in a semicircle, and she said, come to my desk. So I came to her desk, and in a loud voice, she said, is it true that your dad has a girlfriend and a baby by that girlfriend, and he has left y'all?
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't know what to do.
This is a school teacher. You're 12 years old.
Yes, yes.
My
And I
goodness.
didn't, you know, soap operas were 15 minutes long back then,
Yeah.
and we didn't watch them. So,
Yeah.
you know, I was playing paper dolls, and
Yeah.
Barbie had just come out, you know.
Yeah.
And so she said, you can't tell me anything? And I said, no, ma'am. And she just took her hand like this and said, well, then sit down if you can't tell me anything.
My
And the whole class
goodness.
heard it.
Wow.
So that whole day, I just kept my head down,
Yeah.
you know. And but God used that, Dante. I can tell you now, every bad thing that happened back then, God used it in my life, and I became a teacher because I thought that. That I, in my little bitty brain, could keep every kid from being hurt like that.
Wow.
But I could only do one class at a time,
Yeah.
you know?
But you could love on those kids where that woman showed
Yes.
whatever you want to call that, you know, anger or
Yes.
hatred or whatever you want to call
And
it.
she
but-
was in a big church in Greenville. And so,
wow.
see, when, you know, that's what I always looked at. So they're in church and they act like this,
Yeah.
you know? So anyway, what happened was I ran home and I told my mom, and my mom said, Mary, now, my little sister was playing with the paper dolls we'd gotten for Christmas, and she said, just play with the paper dolls, and when Kathy comes in, tell her not to come in the kitchen. And then it was an older house, so, you know, it was push door, you know, and she said there was a phone in there on the wall, and she said, don't come in here, I'll come out. And she took her Bible and went in there, and it was 7 o'clock before she came out. And so my sister was doing her homework because she was in high school. I was playing.
Yeah.
And so with my little sister, and no dinner that night.
Yeah.
And she came out, and she said, girls, come around the table, the dining room table. We sat down, and she said, first of all, I want to tell you something. I want you to adopt this verse as your life verse. And it's Psalm 68. It says, he will be the husband to the widow and the father to the fatherless. And she didn't tell us the last part of that verse. The last part of that verse says, he will, let me see, I have to say the whole verse. He will be the husband to the widow, the father to the fatherless, and he sets the lonely in families. And she said, I don't know where your dad is. The ministry doesn't know where your dad is. But I have accepted that verse. So God is my, you know, husband now, and he is your father.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be too busy for you. And you know, you were quiet when Dad came home. You know, it wasn't like what my husband's family was like.
Right,
you
right.
know?
Or my family, when I come home, we'll go, it's loud, it's not quiet.
We
you
had
know?
to be, you know,
Yeah.
dressed for dinner, and we had to be quiet, and, you know, and
Did you ever see your father again?
never. No, but
Wow.
that's even another story. When Josh was in high school, he was working, you know, because he was going to Clemson, and he was, you know, saving for all that. And the Ingalls, well, the Bilo in Clemson, he was in the meat department. He had started as a bagger, then a cashier, and he did that while he was still at Clemson. And he was in high school then, and there was a teacher who had lost a child to cancer, and she was the teacher that mentored me when I became a teacher at Central Elementary. And I'm getting nervous because this is the first time I've said this to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And she went to talk to Josh, and she had taught Josh, and her name was Gracie Price, and I love that family. And I taught her son the year that in third grade, that the kindergarten daughter, Edie, died from cancer. And we were in church together and everything, and Tom and him, the husband, was deacons together. Well, anyway, I got a phone call, and it was a pastor that had been here in Greenville that had been called to my dad's bedside. And that's when I found out he was in West Virginia. And that's the first time I'd ever heard anything about him. Mom
Since
had
you
died.
were 12.
Mom died 2 years before him, which, was probably the best thing suddenly. And so anyway, the pastor had, my dad had a son with somebody else, and he called me. And we had just met. He had been looking for us since he was 14. He's my brother from another mother. And he came to visit us, and Tom led him to the Lord, and led his wife to the Lord, and then he and his wife led his mom to the Lord.
Wow.
And so I have another mother, and she's been precious to me. And he looks like me. My sisters don't look like me. They look like my mom's family. And I look like my dad, so that was kind of hard because people would ask me questions. Please, if somebody messes up, don't ask the children what's going on when the parents aren't around. It's very cruel, and it's very hard, and it's really hard for them to get over. I was asked all kinds of questions. They would pull me out of my Sunday school class and ask me, or they'd pull me out of the GAs, or they would be waiting for me when I was coming up to GAs. So I finally quit church. And I would go in the morning with Mom, but I said, Mom, please don't make me go anymore. And she didn't, and because it was just, I didn't know anything, and it was hard, And so what happened then was Josh came through the door. I was crying because I said, Tom, I have the most awful feeling. I think he's in hell. And I said, I didn't feel this way when Mom died 2 years ago. And I said, I have this awful, awful feeling. And he just held me, and Josh came in the laundry room and to the door to the kitchen, and he said, Mom, Gracie Price told me to tell you something, and for me to tell you before you tell me anything. Now, Josh doesn't know what's happened. Gracie Price didn't know. Her house was between the Bilo and our house, on 93 and that small town, know. And I said, Tom said, wait a minute, Josh, Mom's just gotten some bad news. And he said, Mom, Dad, I really got to tell her. And he said, okay, Josh. And I looked up, and he said,
Bless you. Be with her, Jesus.
He said, remember that I'm your dad. Psalm 68. Gracie Price didn't know that was my verse.
Didn't know that was yours. Wow. Wow.
No.
Talk about comforting, I'm telling you.
I do have a wonderful, Jesus at 11 became my Savior. That Christmas when I had turned 12 in the summer, and that was in the spring. And my mom led me to the Lord because in my GA class, there was a missionary, and she'd come back in sabbatical when I was 11, and she every girl in the class except the Lord said the prayer, and they kept asking me, "Don't you want to do it? Don't you want it?" And I said, "No, I want to do it with my mom."
Wow.
And so when I went home, I said, "Mom, everybody got saved today except me." And I said, I didn't want to say the prayer. And she said, why didn't you want to? I said, I wanted to do it with you.
Wow.
And I said, because they all wanted to be missionaries, and I don't want to be a missionary.
You thought if you got saved then you'd be a missionary, didn't you?
I did, and go to another country. And I said, and she said, well, Mary, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a mom.
Oh, wow.
Like you.
Yeah.
And she said, well, Mary, you could be a missionary in a neighborhood as a mom. And that never left me. So all the kids whose parents, I got to stay home after we lost our first baby. Tom let me stay home. And then when Josh was born, and then Marie was born, and then and I guess I'm just rambling.
No, you're fine.
But it turned out that Marie was very, very sick from the time she was born, and she threw up for 18 months all night.
We're going to get into that.
Okay.
I mean, and I want to get in, we'll take a break for a song here in a second, but your passion for cooking and what you later learned, I mean, it saved the lives of your children. It really did, didn't it?
God did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
I did kind of get upset. I said one time, I said, God, I can't use any Southern Living magazine recipes anymore. What am I going to do? And actually, I can do it now.
You can do it. Trust me, she can do it.
He didn't take that
I'm
away
telling
from
you,
me.
The way you cook, it's. I mean, you tell me it's healthy, but it tastes too good to be healthy. But I'll tell you. So, but let's take a break for a song. We'll find out how Mary Beth developed this passion for cooking, what it did to save her children, and what she's doing with their ministry now. But right now, the Blankenships coming to bless us in another song. It Had to Be God.
Come on, put your hands together. Hallelujah. It had to be God, so I give him the praise and the glory. It had to be God who heard every word that I prayed. I should have died in the fight at the end of my story, but it had to be God, 'cause I'm still standing today. Little David came to the fight with a sling and a stone. Oh, that old giant, all of his might, thought that boy came alone. Now we bragging with one tiny rock, Goliath came down. But that shepherd boy knew while that giant lay dead on the ground. Had to be God, so I give him the praise and the glory. It had to be God who heard every word that I prayed. I should have died in the fight at the end of my story. But it had to be God, 'cause I'm still standing today. I love this verse. Now you may be facing a trial of impossible odds. Trust him today, you're his child, and the battle is God's. I love this. Even your closest of friends think that you're gonna lose. But it'll just bring more glory to him once they get the news. Oh, it had to be God, so I give him the praise and the glory. It had to be God who heard every word that I prayed. I should have died in the fight at the end of my story. But it had to be God, 'cause I'm still standing today. Oh, it had to be God, so I give him the praise and the glory. It had to be God who heard every word that I prayed. I should have died in the fight at the end of my story. still standing today. I love this. I should have died in the fight at the end of my story. Yeah, but it had to be God, 'cause I'm still standing today. Oh, yeah, I'm still standing today. Oh, yeah, I'm still standing today.
Alrighty, the Blankenships all the way from West Virginia. I love West Virginia. I've been to West Virginia, Kentucky, and all up in the mountains with their Appalachia project. So I love it up there, y'all, and doing a good job. There's a lot of good talent up in those mountains, that's for sure. I love it, love it, love it. But we're going to continue our conversation with Mary Beth Oxendine. You might know her as Miss O, and with her show Cooking with Miss O that comes on here Saturdays. Mary Beth, you were just we just wrapped up kind of your childhood. Let's talk about you made it through that. I mean, that is tough. I mean, you had that was hard. That was a hard childhood. But you got married.
Yes.
Had children. Got 2 wonderful children. Your
Yes.
daughter used to help you here with the show. I mean, she's wonderful. Was it then when you became a mother that you developed a love for cooking, or was it when you were younger with
my
the
mom.
single mother?
Yes.
Yeah.
My mom was a great mom, and we were 3 girls, and she told us later it was a good thing we didn't have any boys,
Yeah.
because she had been an only child, and her dad died when she was 7, and from injuries of the First World War, and so in the Depression and all, and actually her parents were from Germany and Austria.
Wow.
And my great-grandmother's wedding dress was a gift from the Russian royal family.
Oh,
so,
wow.
And so we, I've been told we're way down the line of the Austrian royal family, but I don't know. I don't know.
I'm telling you.
But anyway, so they came over on Ellis Island. And I
Wow.
want to tell you something I learned about that. Grammy would always tell us about when they came to Ellis Island. First, she went to, reason why I talk about Paris on the show is because her sister came over first. They already knew that Christians knew there was trouble in Germany, Austria,
Right.
and all. And so her oldest sister was married, and so they came through Ellis Island first. And then they brought, because back then you had to have somebody, and they had to have a job for you and everything. And so she came through Ellis Island next, and when she came to Ellis Island, first she went by the way of Paris, and then she was being a tutor in a large rich house. You know, they brought her there to tutor, and so she could go to America. And but then the First World War was going to be breaking out. So she was at this house, and I've seen the picture. It was more of a villa, and so the head, a general from the Austrian royal family, came to the house and talked to the lady of the house, and so they called my grandmother down and said, pack 1 bag. They're taking you outside of Paris, and then you're going to be going back to Germany. And when she got there, when they took her, she was there with ambassadors and all of that. So that's what makes me think that really, because it was the Austrian people that came and got her. And she was only, I think, 19 at that point.
Wow. So
And had finished all her schooling and stuff. And so she went back, and but they had to ride. They put them in cattle cars and covered them up with hay and stuff until they got to, it was either Switzerland or Sweden. And then they could sit in the train and get them out. And so anyway, she stayed there, and then she went straight to Ellis Island after the war was over.
Wow.
And her little brother had to fight in the war, so he came after her. But when she came, she said when she got, the ship stopped, and they stopped outside of the New York harbor where you can see the Statue of Liberty, but they're way out. And what they did was, she said, it was the most amazing thing. She said, it was just God. And she said, all of a sudden, when the ship stopped, everybody came out on the decks, and they were from all over Europe. So they all had different, languages and all. And they all stood there on all those decks, and immediately at the same time, everybody broke out in their own language, Amazing Grace. She
Wow.
said it was like there was a choir director out there in the heavens just leading it. It was the most amazing thing. Well, I just found out this past year, I was with some people that were, grown up in New York, and I told them that story. And they told me every ship that came in through Ellis Island, that happened.
Wow.
And
Not planned or orchestrated.
Nothing. No.
It's just, that's the Spirit of God.
Yeah, that's God,
That's awesome.
And that was the first time they would see the Statue of Liberty.
Wow.
Is that not something?
That's awesome.
So, so that's why I talk about the French people, and that man called for some of my shows, the one that was starting that new Christian station over in France. And that was what they had. I was told that's why, because
That's
I talked
pretty
about that.
exciting.
And
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Wow.
but I will say this. I think the Southern food is the best food.
I agree. You don't
So-
get this big being, knowing what's good, not knowing. I know what's good, trust me. And it's Southern food. So
Yeah, I think so.
let's talk about your children, because
Yeah.
the way you prepared food, and we know that food can be great for you, or it can be bad for you.
Well, yes, right.
Talk about your children, what they went through, and how through the guidance of the Lord you corrected it with their diet. That's pretty exciting.
And my daughter was very, very sick, and at 18 months we went to Emory. The doctors here couldn't help her anywhere in Greenville. And when we were at the last doctor visit, there was a girlfriend of mine that was a nurse there, and they told me that they were sending us to Emory. And I turned around and was going to say goodbye to them, because I was having to go out, to pay, and they didn't even make me pay. And so anyway, I turned back and I saw the doctor and the two nurses just standing there. And one of them was crying. And so I didn't know what cystic fibrosis was. Tom didn't know either. I went home and we went the next week to Emory. And it was a wonderful doctor. He was Jewish, and he was over the whole department at Emory. And God orchestrated the whole thing. I mean, and so when we went in there, they took Marie for the whole day, and we just sat out in the waiting room. And it was hard because it was the cancer day for little kids, and it was dads and moms holding these children that were just so weak, and you knew they were like 6 years old, or it was an awful experience for what we saw, but it opened our eyes to the fact that you know what, this world is hard and it hurts, and but Christ, is in it with these doctors that they give their lives to try to save children and all of us, So it was a sweet place, but a hard thing to see. The nurses and doctors were just tremendous. So they brought us back in at the end of the day, and Dr. Kaplan said, Mary Beth and Tom, Marie has cystic fibrosis, and we didn't know what it was. And they didn't tell us that, the doctor in Greenville. He didn't tell us she had it. It was him that told us. And so we didn't know what it was. And he said, you take Marie home. There's nothing we can do. He said, she has 9 days at the most to live.
She's 18 months old or so?
She was 18 months. It was the 10th day was her second birthday.
Wow.
And he said, now, when Marie dies, bring Josh up here. First he said, do you have any other children? We said, we have Josh. He said, he's old. We told him he was older, and he said, is he the first one? And we said, no, we lost our first one. He said, then you need to bring Josh in, and I will tell you right now, we don't even have to test him. But we will. He will have it too. And he asked his age, and he was 5, and he said, we might can get him 2 years. You might have in 2 years. Now, we need to tell you that when you lose one child, you only have a 5% chance of making it in your marriage. And you're losing 2, and you have no chance of your marriage. And I said to him, I said, but what do you mean? Because, God, And he said, that's the statistics. He said, I'm just telling you, we see it here all the time.
Yeah.
And so I didn't say anything else. Tom turned around and he went to the end of where they, had Marie laying, and I'd picked her up, and he sat down on the stool facing the windows, and he didn't make a sound, but he was a big guy. He was like you, he was, strong and all, and just his shoulders were rocking. And the doctor was short like me. He went over and put his arm around him and said, he said, Tom, he said, you came here looking for God, and I'm not God, and I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. And he said, but, I'm saying 2 years for your son, but things are being developed and everything, and it could be longer than that, but you don't need to have any more children, because they will all have it. And so I didn't cry then. We got in the car, and we were driving out, and I started crying. And Tom said, he got real strong, and he said, now listen here. Our kids are not dying. They are just changing their address. They're changing it to heaven where we will be. And he said, and by the way, we are not getting a divorce. He said, we're going to go through hell, Mary. This is going to be hell for us on earth. And he said, but Christ is still in this, Mary. And he said, and doctors can tell you, but we don't know, And he said, so let's enjoy what we have. And so we got home, and he said, we're not going to tell our moms that we're going to lose Josh too. Let's just tell them one child at a time. And so we only told them about Marie, and we never did tell them about Josh because, but anyway, that was in the spring, and people were doing revivals. And so in the Clemson Central and Easley area, people changed their prayer thing, where they take an hour to pray, and they prayed for us.
Wow.
2 days later, a Seventh-day Adventist lady called and said, and I knew about her because she was doing bread making. They'd come back from the mission field because they had lost 2 children in the mission field in Canada. In an ice skating accident. And so they brought their 3 daughters back home, and one was 6 and one was 12, and the girls were in between. And they had family in Salem. And so I had wanted to take that class, but Marie was so sick I couldn't because I love to cook. And so she came to my house 2 days later, and she said, I'm gonna help you. And I'm gonna teach you how to make the bread. And that's with the whole wheat berry, which I have right over there. And she had a grinder. And she went to my pantry, and I was really proud of my pantry. I thought I had a wonderful Southern pantry. She took everything out.
Oh, wow.
I know. And she said, we're gonna make bread. And she told me later, she came on the show and told me years later that when she saw Marie, she went home and told her husband that she wasn't going to make it through the night, and that they were going to be there the next morning. They had decided excuse me, that when they were told the same thing we were told about our marriages, that God needed them to be missionaries for people whose children are dying. And they go into the homes, and she teaches the women to beat the bread instead of taking it out on her husband or her children. And then the husband comes in and takes care of the husband to help him with his anger. And that they were going to come the next morning, she was sure, because they had seen so many children. And Marie lived, and Josh lived, and it was because in 3 months, Marie, and I want to tell you this because a doctor told my daughter in Greenville when she was getting ready to have her baby that did they have any genetic problems, her and her husband, and her she said, I had cystic fibrosis, but God healed me. And I'm well today. And I was diagnosed at Emory. And that doctor said, God can't do that. You only had the old test. The old test wasn't accurate, and you had the old test. So she came up and said, Mom, I never had cystic fibrosis. And I said, what did he say? You only had the old test? She said, yes. I said, Marie, you were one of the first to have the new test. And I said, so when you go back, would you please tell him?
You have the new test.
And she said, I had both? I said, yes, you have both, Marie, because they told us that they still were doing the old test with the new test just to honor the old test. And I guess they were doing it for, science, because they could figure out, And so, and I said, Marie, 3 months later, You weren't gray anymore. You weren't throwing up. You weren't having diarrhea. None of y'all, Josh wasn't having his problems.
Right.
And Josh's were minor compared to Marie.
Yeah.
And I said, actually, Marie, I said they did another test here in Greenville. And it didn't show up.
Wow.
Because after the 3 months of being on the wheat berry.
Right.
Well, when Tom in December of 2006, we found out a new study. People were telling us, they told me at Bible study, and then people in Easley were saying about cystic fibrosis. And I'm not good on the computer, all y'all know that. That's why we have Tobe, right? That's right. And so, and I really don't like it because I'd rather be cooking and being with people,
right.
you know? And so I can't sit still long enough. Yeah. So anyway, what happened then was he sat down at Josh's computer and he said, he turned to me and he never cried, in tears. And he said, Mary, there's a new medical study out that says this is 18 years later since our kids were diagnosed with this. And I said, what is it, Tom? I'm thinking it's more bad news, something else is going to happen, you know? Yeah. And he said, Mary, they have found that if you feed a child the whole wheat berry, it heals cystic fibrosis. Wow. Is that not amazing?
That's awesome.
And then he died the next September, on September 11th. And we found out that he had the genetic artery condition that basketball players drop down on the basketball court, and that the wheat berry helped him live longer. The people that did the autopsy wanted to know what I did, and the coroner came to a cooking class to see. Because his body was in such great shape at 55. His heart was that of a 25-year-old. Everything was all right except the genetic thing. Yeah. And he was the longest living person that's ever had that genetic condition.
Wow. What about that?
Is that not something? God?
I'm telling you. And folks, stick around because we're going to take a break for a song. And when we come back, though, we're going to be in the kitchen. And we're going to be talking about the wheat berry. We're going to make an apple pie.
Yes.
That's pretty neat.
I know.
And I'm telling you, we use butter.
Yes.
Imagine
Butter's
that.
all right.
So, yeah.
Margarine's terrible. Butter's wonderful.
Butter's good. And she's going to show us how to use the grinder. I mean, it's a really neat segment. You don't want to miss it. But and we'll talk about the wheat berry and some of the health benefits of this and some of the other things that happen in your life. So right now, let's let the Blankenships do a song for us. One of my favorites. Sometimes It Takes a Mountain. And then we'll be in the kitchen cooking with Miss O.
I faced a mountain that I've never faced before. That's why I'm calling on you, Lord. I know it's been a while, but Lord, please hear my prayer. I need you like I never have before. Sometimes it takes a mountain, sometimes a troubled sea, sometimes it takes a desert, yes, Lord, to get a hold of me. Your love is so much stronger than whatever troubles me. Sometimes it takes a mountain to trust you and believe. Forgive me, Jesus. I thought I could control whatever life would throw my about this? This I will admit has brought me to my knees. I need you, Lord. I'm not ashamed to say. Sometimes it takes a mountain. Sometimes a troubled sea. Sometimes it takes a desert, yes, Lord, to get a hold of me. I love this part. Your love is so much stronger than whatever troubles me. Sometimes it takes a mountain to trust you and believe. Sometimes it takes a mountain to trust you and believe. Sometimes it takes a mountain. I love this. Hallelujah. Sometimes it trust. Sometimes a troubled sea. Sometimes it takes a desert. Yes, Lord, to get a hold of me. Your love is so much stronger than whatever troubles me. Sometimes it takes a mountain to trust you and believe. Sometimes it takes a mountain. Sing it, Cars. To trust you and believe. Aren't you thankful for that tonight? Hallelujah.
Enjoying the music, and now is, I feel like, the highlight of the program. I mean, this is cool. I'm out of my element here. I'm out of my comfort zone because I do not know what I'm doing in the kitchen, and I'm in your kitchen now, Mary Beth. So, but thank you for allowing me to be in the kitchen to make a mess. And I've never worn an apron before. This feels weird, folks. I'm telling you. So.
And I left mine at home. So
Yeah,
I used to wear them all the time, and now I don't. I wear them at home.
So tonight we've talked about a lot of healthy foods, a lot of things that people, sick people. I mean, food is a healer.
It is.
It is. And God has given us these things, and over the years and courses of humanity, we have tainted our food. We've watered it down for taste or preservation or something like that. And a lot of diseases stem from that. But we've been talking tonight about the wheat berry, the whole wheat berry. And you've got a bowl of whole wheat berries here. Look at that.
And I don't know what they did back in the holy days to do this, probably with a stone or something like that. But I'm so glad for electricity.
Electric grinder.
And this is how I do mine. Now, let me tell you, Dante, the whole wheat berry, a lot of people don't know this. The Seventh-day Adventists, they believe in Jesus Christ, and but they eat just like the kosher Jews.
Okay.
Okay, so they eat biblically, and I was taught. I'm not Seventh-day Adventist, but I was taught this by Seventh-day Adventist. She was in the Clemson area. They were missionaries in Canada, and they had 5 children. They had a little boy 12, 3 little girls, and a little boy 6. And their ice skating ring was in the middle of the town. And so they were all out there I think it was a Sunday afternoon. Everybody was ice skating, very, very cold. It was upper Canada.
Oh, wow.
And the 6-year-old fell through the ice. And all the people, the fathers and all, knew that that one was already gone, but the 12-year-old was so fast on his ice skates that he went in to save his brother, and they were trying to catch him.
Wow.
So in front of those little girls that were in between them and the parents and the whole town where they were missionaries, saw them lose both their boys.
Oh my goodness.
And so what happened was she did wheat berries and all like that, because up there they had to do that because you just couldn't go to a grocery store and stuff like that.
Right.
So they came back to Salem because they had family here, and she started doing cooking classes in the Clemson area. And I love to cook, and so my mom was so sweet. She wasn't really a good cook at all, but she could sew and knit. She's in heaven, so I think she'll forgive me right now. But she let us play in the kitchen. You know, she was wonderful about that. She did cook, but I think she felt she was out of her element because she was from Illinois, and the Southern food, you know, and being a pastor's wife, we were invited to, you know, different pastors' houses when they were, you know, preaching at different churches, and I think she felt that she could not keep up with that.
Yeah.
So, but her sewing and everything like that, and after we lost my dad, she sewed at home, so we would come home to our mom, and she would let us cook.
Wow.
And it was and there was no cooking shows on at that point.
Right.
You know?
It's for even Julia
So-
Child, I guess, at that point.
Well, Julia Child, she did watch that. We did
Okay.
watch that. That's
Yeah.
right. That was at night, I
Wow.
think, wasn't it?
Awesome.
And
But it's crazy that the wheat berry, so it's brownish, you know, but it comes out white like that.
yes,
man.
it does.
Wow.
And
That's
let me
pretty
take that off and let you see it. You can even here it
Yeah,
is,
there we
right
go.
here.
Look at that, folks. That is neat.
Now let me tell you the nutrition of this, okay? In the first 72 hours, it has all of the protein, enzymes, minerals, and there's one more. Protein, enzymes, minerals, and
And vitamins or something?
vitamins,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. Vitamins, I was up late
Me too.
doing the TV magic where I'm cooking and stuff. So, but anyway, it has all that in it, but it slowly, after you grind it, so when I'm going to make something, I grind it right
So you want to grind it fresh?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And so it heals. Actually, a new study has come out just recently, because I keep up with one of the new studies. And if children eat the whole wheat berry, they won't get cancer.
Wow.
Is that not something? That's the
That's
newest
awesome.
one. Now, the one that we found out about was both of our kids, and we can talk about that. But it also heals cystic fibrosis. So I'm hoping, I'm praying that people that have cystic fibrosis children, they will hear this, because it has been a cover-up.
Yeah.
That's what because there is a medical study that did come out in 2006 in December, and it said that the kids can be healed, and both of my kids were actually healed from cystic fibrosis.
So people with cystic fibrosis or cancers or all these other things that, you know, a lot of times are attributed to polluting our bodies with certain chemicals and foods, they can still eat an apple pie.
Right.
So that's
we don't
awesome.
want to do too much sugar. And like for ice cream, I do this, the Stonyfield, because it's a yogurt.
Okay.
And actually, everybody loves it. And nobody really realizes it's a yogurt, you know. But I don't do dietetic stuff. I do natural stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I do use white sugar and brown sugar, but, you know, that's not the mainstay in everything I do, you know. Now, there's a new study also that has just come out, and I'm working on that, is that if you have somebody that's starting to have Alzheimer's, if you put them on Armour Thyroid, which is an old one, I'm on that one actually, and it coughs, so I have a little cold. They have found out that it is low thyroid, so low thyroid, and that's what's causing Alzheimer's, and it reverts, and they are fine.
So that'll help.
Yes,
That'll help.
but see, they've gone to synthetic synthetic thyroid, and that's why so many people have Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Is this not amazing?
It
see,
is.
God
I've learned
had
a
it
lot.
so that we could, everything that's natural it's wonderful for us.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And if you take the chemicals away too, then it's more like what they did in biblical days.
Exactly.
So that's why I do organics. Now, I'm very careful with organics that are outside of the country because DDT was made here in the country and we used to use it, but they found out in '87 that it causes cancer and all sorts of things. It's really terrible. So they sell it to all the people outside the United States. So don't eat organics outside the United States. Canada might be safe, but I'm not really totally sure on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Well, where do we begin with an apple pie?
Okay.
Of course, earlier you mentioned the Seventh-day Adventist and how they stay with the traditional Jewish
Testament, yes.
meals. Of course, Jesus would have ate kosher,
Yes.
because he was a Jew. He
Right.
would have stuck to the traditional meals and the kosher meals. So, that's something that the Bible has given us is a roadmap to all of life, even our diet, even though some of us, deviate from that from time to time. But,
well, that's why I want to show you that with the whole wheat berry and the way I do it,
Yeah.
it actually tastes better.
Wow.
And let me tell you something, and am I allowed to say about bathroom stuff?
Certainly,
Here?
why not? Everybody goes.
You won't be constipated. After we were on it for 6 weeks, and I was trying to work out my southern recipes, because I wanted it not to, you've had health food that you don't really want to eat again, right?
Right.
And so I was a little nervous, and I wanted this to be Southern food and healthy because I like my Southern food. That's all I know.
Right.
And so even though my mother was from the Midwest, I grew up here. And the school lunches, when I was in there, it was, peach cobbler and all that kind of wonderful stuff, And so I thought, why can't we have healthy Southern food?
Exactly.
Because everybody makes fun of us Southerners because we eat so bad, they say. But actually, we really don't. We have a lot of stuff. We just need different products, like putting the whole wheat berry instead of the flour that doesn't have anything in it. So when we did it in 6 weeks, Tom had terrible perspiration problems. And it was gone. No circles anymore. It was totally gone.
Wow.
If you do the wheat berry and you use it for anything that you would do wheat or anything, or we also do the oat groats, and I'll come back and do some oatmeal cookies for that if you would like that.
Yeah.
And so you won't stink anymore. There's you have no odor coming out of you. You don't need a fan in your bathroom. You just open your window, but there's no smell to your
Body.
poop. I'm
Wow.
sorry.
Wow.
And even babies, you know how bad that.
I
My
got
daughter, you understand. But anyway, when they are eating this way, it doesn't stink at all. So you have to check them regularly because you're not sure if they did or not, because there's no smell. And so,
with my kids, there's no denying. All right, when you knew, okay,
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I know. That's the way it was with our kids.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that really surprised us. The other thing is Tom had skin tags. They in 6 weeks he couldn't find them. We looked in the bed everywhere. I said, well, where'd they go? Because he was going to have them taken off. It's in his family. All of them were gone in 6 weeks.
What about that?
His blood pressure came down to a totally normal.
Wow.
And he lost, in 6 weeks, he lost 36 pounds. And
just by changing the diet here.
Yes, and we still were eating, chicken and collard greens and all that kind of stuff. But I changed with olive oil and vinegar and this.
And you were still eating apple pie, one of his favorites. So.
It was his favorite.
Wow.
So
well,
that's
show
why
us
we're
how
doing
you
this.
made Tom's favorite apple pie.
Okay, now this is what I do. Cutting those apples kind of get tedious, because you need at least 5 or 6 apples.
Okay.
Do the green apple. Also, out of all of the apples that we have, the green one is the healthiest.
Oh, wow.
So if you have indigestion problems, do the green apple.
Okay.
It'll help get rid of that, okay? Then I have an apple core, and you can get this at Walmart. And all you do is put it over the core here. Let me set this out before I flip it somewhere when I go down.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that wonderful?
How neat.
Then you just, I forgot to peel it, but it's okay, y'all.
That's
we'll
all
just
right.
go ahead
We got
because
some
we've
peeled
got
over
enough
there.
here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show you what I do. We peel it, and I just wanted to show y'all. And I try to, since they're kind of wide here, I do 3.
Okay, so after
Okay,
you
see, and then
third.
it's like this.
Yep.
See, okay, and then all we do after that That way you don't have to cut it by hand. It makes it go much faster.
Yeah.
And if you have kids in the kitchen, they love doing this,
exactly.
especially the boys. You know. But
They're destructive by nature, so they love destroying things like apples.
thanks for telling me. I've got 2 grandsons, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, was Josh like this? I don't remember that. But anyway, then what I do here is we've ground the flour, all right? And
now, where can you find one of the flour mills at? Just anywhere, Walmart, Target, anywhere?
No, you can't.
Okay, maybe online or something.
You can do it online, and this is the little Bosch, and y'all have seen me here with my big Bosch, and this is the kitchen meal, and it's a Blendtec, and that's with the not the Mennonites, but the Mormons. So
Okay.
you can only get that by online.
Okay.
Yeah, and Blendtec is the company. Okay. I love this, but now there's another big one, and that's the one I started with, and you can get that one. And if you're in the Greenville area, if you go over to Clemson, there's Hochstetler's, a Mennonite place, right after you go over the bridge on the lake, and you're going to turn by the doctor's office. It's I don't really know the name right now. And you go down that road. There's Hochstetler's. Anybody in Clemson can tell you where Hochstetler. You could look it up on your phones and stuff. Hochstetler's carries the Bosches, the big one and the little one, and the other grinder. And that grinder, this one makes a little bit of a mess. You'll see, because it sometimes
Let's ground
comes
for a
out.
second. Show us how that works real quick,
Okay.
'cause I'm fascinated
All
by
right.
this.
Is
Is
this
it plugged
plugged
in?
in?
Let me
No.
plug it in.
Now it's real loud, so I'm not going to do that much on you.
Well, that's 220 there. Well, oh, here it is right here.
Thank you.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, that's not terribly loud, yeah. And so it's just the perfect consistency of flour. Oh, look at that. How cool.
And it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, but I only do enough and use it up that time for
Because
whatever
the
happens.
berries like this, they'll store for a long time, won't they?
Well, they went, back in the 60s when they brought that king out of the tombs. He was a young guy.
King Tut?
Yes, thank you. See, I get nervous and I forget my stuff. So anyway, King Tut, they had wheat berries in that tomb when they opened it up. It was all wheat berries. Okay, so they compared that to the wheat berries that are grown in Montana. And Montana is one of the oldest farms and cleanest farms, and that's where I get mine from. And they have that at Hochstetler's. And so, and it's one of my sponsors if you look online. So anyway, it's Wheat Montana. And so, those berries, when they opened them up, the one from King Tut and the one from that had just been, that year grown, has the same nutrition value. There is no lifespan. It has. They don't know when it ends.
Yeah.
They don't.
That's impressive.
That is, and I don't think I'm going to live as long as from King Tut's years so I'm not worried about it.
You're not worried about your wheat berries
no.
going bad.
I'm very careful about apples.
Yeah.
Because they do sprays on that, and that's not good. So I want you to get organic. Ingles has that.
Okay.
So now we're going to do
So what do we add?
Dante, you could do this for me.
Okay.
All right. Let me pull this up here. Yeah. I just said over there. Thanks, Dante. Here. This little Bosch, you can make 2 loaves of bread or 1 loaf of bread and 6 dinner rolls.
Wow.
But I have a bigger one so I can do more. There. And then I'm going to leave that in there, and we're going to dump, I'm going to let you do this. Just dump this in here. We're going to take it out. So.
And this is the Horizon butter, organic butter.
Yes.
I love. I've actually made butter before, and that's
Have you
awesome.
really? Let's
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
sometime. I
So
would
just
love
the whole
to.
thing,
Yeah.
man.
We would do some of that when I was teaching school.
I'm glad I wore this apron. Look at that. Look at that. And then brown sugar here.
Yeah.
Boom.
Cooking's messy, and
fun.
it's okay.
That's
That's why
fun.
it's fun for kids now. You just stick it on that.
There we go.
We got to put this down first.
Okay.
And then,
Put that around it.
yep. And then you put your hand over it so it won't come up.
Okay.
Because
Push there?
No.
Oh. There we go.
Turn this. Just turn that as high as you want it to go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You see that? Yeah, look at there. So what kind of consistency are you looking for on that?
Where it'll be small chunks.
Okay, so looking like crumbles then?
Yeah, just crumbles.
Okay.
See? just so it's mixed up good. It
Yeah.
probably looks like that now. Let's see. Here, we gotta do this.
Okay.
There. And we don't pull it all the way up to. Thanks for getting that. We could do it like that.
All right,
and leave it like that. Would you like to?
Yeah, it works for me. See
Yeah, and it's not gonna blow out at you. Now, this is what else I need you to do. Okay?
All right.
We're gonna take this right here. Well, we don't have to. I think this is big enough so it won't splatter out. I want you, this is cinnamon, the organic cinnamon. And then let's put that in the sugar.
So just mix it in there
Yes.
like that. All right. Look, y'all, I'm cooking.
Okay,
That's awesome.
now I need you to slowly whisk.
Okay.
Your girls are gonna be so proud of you.
Me. Don't let my wife see this. She'll expect this all the time.
You're a good cook. I'm really not a cook. I'm a teaching cook.
Yeah.
I want people to eat healthy and enjoy it around the table. Okay,
That looks good.
now you put it in there.
Pour it all over all these apples.
That's right. Oh, you are good. You look like a chef. Oh my gosh. Oh, you've been holding out on me, Dante. Okay, now just take that and
Mix it
stir
up
around.
real good,
Yeah.
y'all. Ooh, that looks yummy. Now,
It
you
smells
can
good, doesn't it?
that like that.
Oh, yes, you
yeah.
can. I've done it before. You want to try one? Go ahead.
I'll get the giggle and I'll choke. Oh,
No,
yeah.
I can cook, but I can't help you if you choke. So let's don't.
Okay, there we go. That looks good.
Okay.
And now we pour that on the
I'm
in the pot
thinking
filling.
about
Or
something.
what do you think?
What do you think your mom's doing up in heaven seeing Dante cooking in her
She's
kitchen?
probably giggling too.
Now we put it in here. I want to tell you this is a, I can't believe I forgot that too, y'all. I was up so late cooking. This is a,
That's just a
it's
pie.
it is Longaberger.
Okay.
And Longaberger, I use their baking dishes because they do the most even.
Okay.
So if you're going to do it, you can still get Longaberger, even though the Longaberger family does not have it anymore because the father died and the
Oh.
girls didn't finish taking it over.
Uh-huh.
But it is still going on and it's still good quality and
Okay.
everything. But that's the best out of any baking dishes you can
Okay.
have because it's so good.
My wife, she just uses the pie tins, and you can see the hot spots where it burns.
Yes,
and stuff
and
like that,
and
so.
sometimes if you're doing aluminum, that's not really healthy for you.
Right.
So that's why I went to this, and this
Yeah.
is healthy, and there's nothing that's going to
That's
leak out or
something you
anything
can
like
pass
that.
down to the kids and
Oh,
the grandkids and
definitely,
everything.
yes. And when
so-
my daughter got married, I got her a set. It's wonderful because it doesn't burn.
Yeah.
That's the wonderful part. Go ahead and put
So
it in
just
there.
dump it in there.
Yeah.
All right. Does it matter that there's still some loose?
No, it doesn't matter
Doesn't
at
matter?
all.
Okay.
No, just scrape it all out.
There we go. Get all the goodness in there.
Yes, and just spread them out.
Look
Okay.
at me.
Here we go. Make sure
Man, I
it's
should be on
off
TV
that-
doing this, don't you think?
Yeah, I think you
Oh, I am.
I think you could be a chef.
All right, so keep it off the edges a little bit there then?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I have to, did you unplug this? I have to turn this just a little bit to get it to the back. You have to get that to the back.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Now this comes with other beaters too, so you can do everything with this little Bosch. And it's not that expensive, but it works better than most big.
Yeah.
This is, well, I'm not allowed to say name things, but
well, I know.
if you don't have much money and you need good cooking stuff, this is wonderful and it's not that
I
expensive.
think about 3 years or 4 years ago, my wife really wanted one of the big KitchenAid mixers
Uh-huh.
for Christmas, and so I was going to go get it, and I was like on my way to the store to buy it. She told me what color because they come in like 100
I
colors.
know they do.
You know, and so she told me what color and everything, and I got a call from her aunt because she knew I was going to get that. She goes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you buy that mixer yet? I'm like, not yet. And she goes, don't, because I just bought Katie one. I was like, awesome.
Oh,
that saved
wow.
me, like
Lot of
$200
money.
or something,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So just dump this on there and
Yes,
kind of
that's
spread
right.
it around.
Yeah,
there.
just put it right on.
Yeah. So I like.
It doesn't matter how we put it together.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just gonna be good.
Okay.
That's why it's so easy cooking by scratch with kids. They don't make a mistake. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
basically?
Well, now is this considered cooking or baking or?
This is bacon.
Okay.
But that's in the cooking
That's-
family.
Okay. Do we pat it down or just?
You can if you want,
Okay.
but it's fine. Just make,
There we go.
yeah, make sure some is over
Oh,
here,
yeah.
a little bit right in that little hole. And then right over a little here. That's it. Then everybody gets a little of something.
I think Martha Stewart's people will call us. What do you
Ah.
think?
Yeah,
Look at
maybe.
that. Look at that.
Maybe. I like Martha Stewart. I'd love to be on her show.
I'm telling you.
You
So
go-
what now? So
Put that
that
in
is
the
a
oven.
complete pie other than the heat part.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Now,
So-
when you pull that down, I'm going to take mine out.
Okay.
I left it in there to stay warm.
Magic
and then
of
we've already
cheese.
cut it.
Boom.
And here we go.
Awesome. Yeah,
Now, are you ready to try it?
I'm
with
ready.
ice
How
cream?
long do we do this
It's
thing?
40 minutes. I
don't
do
even know how to work
35
this.
because the crust can get, you know, a little bit too dark.
I don't think we got it on. We'll turn that
Okay.
on later. We
All
got
right.
one cooked. That's okay.
All right.
That
Here we
was
go.
too simple.
It is simple.
That was way too simple. I thought apple pie, you got to know this and that and that.
I was kind of intimidated about apple pie until I learned this.
Because it looks pretty intimidating.
You
yeah.
have to be careful. I let this kind of do too long.
Yeah.
Here, there might be. Now put that
Ooh-wee.
right over
Y'all see
here.
that good?
Here you go.
Look at that.
You want to
y'all.
take your fork?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There we
There you
go.
go, Dante. Now take a slice
Let's give
and
that
let
a
me
whirl.
know.
Let's give that a whirl. See, I told you I'd mess it up.
Hey, listen,
Oh, that's good. Oh, wow.
now you wouldn't tell me that if you. I want
that's
you to be
really
honest.
good, y'all. That is
So-
really good.
And for the camera people here, we're gonna have two. The rest of this and the other one. I always like to feed the people here.
Oh, they work so hard.
I love them so much, and they help me.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Now see if that ice cream is not wonderful.
Oh, yeah. It should dollop
Thank
on there.
you.
Well, y'all, I hope y'all have enjoyed our cooking segment here. The first for me, you know. But be sure to check out Mary Beth's show, Cooking with Miss O, Saturday mornings here on Channel 16. This recipe will also be in your new cookbook that's coming out very, very soon.
Yes.
People can call you, or they can go on your website to order it, which is cookingwithmisso.com.
That's right. Yes, it is.
So,
And tell
awesome.
them that just watch the website. We've had a problem with the cookbooks because my first cookbook is still going crazy.
Yeah.
So we're having to spend money to keep that coming.
it out,
and so
yeah.
that's why we thought we were going to do it last year and the year before, but the other one is just still. But that's a good thing.
That's yogurt?
Yes, that's yogurt.
That's
It's
good.
not. Let's show it
That's
up
good.
to him. So it's at Ingles, and this is the biggest it comes.
Wow,
So
that's wonderful.
isn't
Wow.
it?
Wow. So check it out, cookingwithmisso.com. And of course, your telephone number. How can people, what number do
oh,
we
they
use?
could.
Well, it'll be on the screen. That's
Yeah,
no problem. But check it out.
Because I'm not sure which one
Which
to
one
use
we
for that.
use,
Yeah.
But anyway,
So-
well, y'all get out and cook something healthy because this is good, and I would not believe that this is good for me. So, but I'll take your word for it because I'm going to eat it and enjoy it. So, anyway, right now let's go back to some good music. We'll see you in a minute.
I'm gonna keep my hand on the plow, my shoulder to the wheel. There's no time to rest now. Lord, there's work out in the field. I'm gonna keep my feet on the straight and narrow, my eyes on the clouds. There's work out in the field. I'm gonna keep my hand on the plow. The day I was saved, I was called to work out in the field to sell the word, to be a witness to those unsaved and bring them in before the judgment day. I'm gonna keep my hand on the plow, my shoulder to the wheel. There's no time to rest now. There's work out in the field. I'm gonna keep my feet on the straight and narrow, my eyes on the clouds. There's work out in the field. I'm gonna keep my hand on the plow. I love this verse. My hands on the plow, say, while I till the land, I'm gonna keep my hand on the plow, my shoulder to the wheel. There's no time to rest now. There's work out in the field. Feet on the straight and narrow, eyes on the clouds. There's work out in the field. I'm gonna keep my hand on the plow. I'm gonna keep my hand on the plow. My shoulder to the wheel. My feet on the straight and narrow. Eyes on the clouds. Work out in the field.
Man, y'all are doing an awesome job tonight. Awesome.
Thank you, thank you.
Introduce yourself and the group to everybody.
Brother, my name is Eric
You are
Blankenship.
so
I'm
right.
one of the remaining Blankenships that's still singing. My mom raised us boys that just to travel and do what we can for the Lord. And she's at home. She's taking care of my grandmother. We recently lost my grandfather.
Oh, bless your heart.
And I won't say that we lost him.
That's right.
We'll see him again soon.
Exactly.
But, you know, I'm just continuing on what she started.
Yeah.
And the Lord's blessed me with, in my opinion, some of the best people that I could have ever asked for to travel and sing with.
Y'all are wonderful tonight. Doing a great job.
This young man, he is from St. Albans, West Virginia.
Excellent.
And we found him, about 3-4 months ago?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Excellent.
And he does a wonderful job for the Lord. He loves the Lord. He preaches, sings a little, and can play the guitar better than anybody I've heard.
Wonderful.
His name is Dustin Polly.
Excellent, Dustin.
This little lady right here is my pride and joy. She has been traveling with Daddy since the early age of 3.
Wow.
She is 11 years old now. And I tell you, she is a blessing, not only to me, but countless others. Y'all make welcome my daughter, Miss Caitlin Marie.
Excellent.
This young man right here is my best friend. He has been with our family for about 5 years, almost 6 years now.
Excellent.
And he does a wonderful job. He's also the only member of our group that's available.
Ah, ladies. Pay attention, ladies.
So if we, where's my camera at here? Right here. Anybody that is available, get me an 800 number, get me something up there so we can get him somebody. I'm playing, folks. As I said, he is my best friend. I love to cut up with him. There's never a dull moment. He is from Meadowbrook, West Virginia. His name is Anthony Lovejoy.
Excellent, Anthony.
This young man down here on the end, in my opinion, is one of the very best that you're going to hear in gospel music. He's also one of the best preachers that I've ever heard.
Wonderful.
And most of all, he is anointed, and that's what sets it apart. He is from Pineville, West Virginia. Y'all make welcome Mr. Carson Gray.
Excellent. Thank you, Carson. Well, thank you guys for being here. And I know for a fact that y'all travel all over because first you're here, but you were at a church yesterday and some of the guys came out to support you tonight. So that's
they're
pretty
family.
awesome. That's pretty awesome. So y'all travel all over the country. If somebody in the area wants to get a hold of you for either a CD or a book, you guys in their church, how can they get a hold of the Blankenships?
They can do it several different ways. They can visit our website, which is Blankenships.online.com. They can give us a call at 304-552-2067. Or they can email us, which is a good way because we tend to check phones all the time anyway.
Exactly.
Just send Blankenships.online@yahoo.com.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank y'all so much for being here tonight. Y'all going to do one more for us. Just pray. Thank you. The
Hey, guys.
Blankenships.
If you're going through something in your life, this song was written about a time in my life when I couldn't see light at the end of the tunnel. And I can promise you, he hears us when we pray. Amen. Y'all listen to the words. Don't look at your circumstances, or you'll find out when your back's against the wall and there seems no way out. That mountain that you're facing grows bigger every day. There is one answer, just pray.
Just pray and see what God can do. No matter what you're facing or what you're going through, the one that holds tomorrow still holds you today. There is one answer,
just pray. You're fighting a battle you cannot win. Keep trusting and believing and holding on to Him. You're tired and so weary from the struggles of today. There is one answer, just pray.
just pray and see what God can do. No matter what you're facing or what you're going through, the one that holds tomorrow still holds you today. There is one answer,
Just pray. I love this. God never promised a sunshine without rain. He never promised laughter without a little pain. He never promised heartache would never come our way. But we find every answer when we fall down and pray.
just pray and see what God can do. No matter what you're facing or what you're going through, the one that holds tomorrow still holds you today. There is one answer.
There is one answer. Aren't you glad, church, He hears us? Amen. When we pray. God bless you guys so much.